Hello everyone, my name is Nicolas Quarles and welcome to the Undercut, the GPblog podcast. We are back. Another dramatic race in Singapore with Ferrari getting a very surprising one too, Mercedes getting their tactics all wrong, and 3 safety cars. We're analyzing all the action from Sunday's long race, we'll look ahead to this weekend's Russian Grand Prix, and we'll probably have another shouting contest in this week's Hot Take section. This is the 2019 season, episode 6.
Valtteri, it's James.
And that's going to ruin the undercut attempt. The undercut.
We'll dive into the news in a little bit, but first I have to introduce my guest. Joining me on my left is Adam Newton. Adam, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Nick. Pleased to be back.
And opposite of me, filling in, because I'm taking over Joe Tyrrell's presenting duties, and filling in for Joe is Bobby Vincent.
Hello, Nick. Nice to be here.
All right, let's move on to the news. So the news section, Bobby, I'm going to start off with you, diving straight into it. You have something about us about, obviously, I think the biggest news coming out of F1 last week.
Haas have decided to keep Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen for a 4th successive year now. There was a lot of pressure on Grosjean's seat, especially with Nico Hülkenberg not driving for Renault next year. Obviously, Esteban Ocon is going there from Mercedes. Grosjean has come under a lot of pressure, and then obviously the Singapore Grand Prix at the weekend, he perhaps didn't drive the way Haas would have liked, and there's perhaps even more pressure on him now, but he's there for another year at least.
Adam, I'm going to come to you now. You regular listeners will know you quite like Romain Grosjean.
Yeah.
But do you agree with this decision?
It's a difficult one because, yes, I am a Romain Grosjean fan. I have been since he came back to Formula 1 with Lotus in 2012. But I got to say, I do think it's a bit of a mistake on Haas's part. A driver with the talent and the ability of Nico Hülkenberg doesn't come along very often for a team like Haas. Hülkenberg's really, taken it to Daniel Ricciardo this year. I know he's behind him in the standings and whatever, but he is a top-class driver. And to let him pass and re-sign Grosjean, who has struggled in the last, let's say, 18 months since the start of last season, for definite, seems a bit confusing to me. But they're showing loyalty to Grosjean. You know, he's been a great servant to Haas, but I wonder whether it's one season too many.
Is there not something in that, him being with the team since the start and him knowing the team inside out probably, and will that not help Haas more than, say, with the Hülkenberg going forward in terms of car development, Bobby?
Yeah, I also think you got to look at Hülkenberg and Magnussen have history as well. So putting them two together maybe wouldn't have been the best idea.
Bit of a checkered past, to put it lightly.
But then you look at Grosjean and Magnussen, and it seems to me they don't get on very well. Not from any inside information, just looks from the outside that they don't get on very well.
Both quite hot-headed, aren't they?
Well, teammates rarely get on, do they?
Yeah,
with
true.
The exception of Sainz and Norris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with Adam. I think on Haas's part, when a driver like Hülkenberg comes available, I think to turn him down for Grosjean, who's just not been very impressive at all, is it's going to prove to be a mistake.
I think Grosjean has, whilst he hasn't scored many points for Haas this season, he has been good in the development side. He realised that they were going the wrong way, and I think it was around Britain, Germany.
Yeah, he was driving the Australia spec.
Yeah,
right?
and performed better in the old spec. So I think Grosjean has a lot of worth to Haas simply from his development of the car and how he can. But that doesn't outweigh
just the raw talent of Nico Hülkenberg.
But will that lead to more points?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say now, but...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, staying with you now, Adam, some other big news, not from Formula 1, but another championship coming to a close.
Yeah, Sunday, same day as the Singapore Grand Prix. We're filming this on Monday, so yesterday, the IndyCar Championship came to a close, and it was Joseph Newgarden, a name many F1 fans might not be familiar with, got his 2nd title, but... maybe the reason this was so newsworthy and exciting is there were 4 drivers going for the title in the final race at Laguna Seca, and 19-year-old Colton Herta won the race. Big name to look out for. Whether he'll stay in IndyCar, you never know, you can't tell, but he's a definite talent, and congratulations to Joseph Newgarden on a 2nd title.
And obviously a lot of F1 fans won't be as familiar with IndyCar, and we've already seen Patrick O'Rourke making the step to Formula 2 driving one race, I think, in Austria, was it?
Yeah, and he's in Super Formula now.
And now he's in the Super Formula. Do you think we might, obviously with the 19-year-old there winning the race, do you think we might be able to see like IndyCar becoming sort of a feeder series, if you will, to Formula One?
I don't know if you can really call it a feeder series because they are. IndyCar has its own.
It's like the
junior
top of the
formula.
mountain.
They have Indy Lights and.
It's the top of the mountain, but
yeah,
like
but
a different mountain
maybe
range.
if they fancy a different challenge. I mean, we've seen Marcus Ericsson recently gone from F1 to IndyCar. There's been another few, Sebastian Bourdais, Takuma Sato's in IndyCar right now. And then, of course, we've got Patricio O'Ward in the Red Bull Junior Academy now. Yeah, so...
I just realised I said Patrick O'Rourke, and that's like an American news anchor, I think.
Oh, really?
It's horrible for me. But yeah, all right, that's enough for the news now. Let's dive straight into the Singapore Grand Prix. Well, when I was watching the race yesterday, I thought we were going to reach the time limit again, as we've had often in Singapore. Obviously, there's a 2-hour time limit to any F1 race with the 3 safety cars, and it was an action-packed race with Sebastian Vettel getting his first win in over a year, Ferrari getting their first 1-2 in 2 years, Ferrari winning 3 races in a row for the first time since 2008. And just all kinds of stats like that. And... I guess, guys, we just had another very good F1 race, didn't we?
Delighted for Vettel, his first win in, I think it was 392 days since Belgium in 2018. Obviously, the way the win came with the whole undercut situation, which we'll get onto.
Bizarre.
Quite lucky on his part, quite unlucky on Leclerc's part. But, I mean, he drove a faultless race, really. He showed his experience in countless parts of the races. And, yeah, he was excellent.
But the media often criticized Vettel for how he deals with pressure. We've seen in Canada going off track when he was under immense pressure, but he pretty much drove a faultless race this time in Singapore.
Oh, for sure. His safety car restarts, I know we were talking about that earlier before we started recording, were stunning. You know, he took Leclerc by surprise twice and really showed his maturity and his experience. We got to remember, this guy is a 4-time champion. He's a 53-time race winner now.
Yeah.
That's the 3rd all-time, only behind Schumacher and Hamilton. He's a legend of F1 already, whether you like it or not. And he just showed again why he is such a great driver. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see a bit more of that this year, maybe next year. Who knows?
I think a very underrated part of Vettel's race was as well when both him and Leclerc pitted. Vettel just cut through the midfield, who were obviously had to overtake on track. He did that so much better than Leclerc, and I think that maybe got overlooked a bit as everyone just saying that, you know, Leclerc got shafted and whatnot. But was it just unlucky on Leclerc's part? Is he right to be, you know, as furious? You know, he could tell he was trying to downplay how angry he was, but you could tell he was angry. Is that justified?
Yeah, in a way. I think every F1 driver would be angry.
Would you say he got robbed of a victory?
Yeah, yes, because I mean, before anyone even pitted, he was controlling that pace really well. He was driving excellently, and when it did happen, obviously it was unfortunate on his part, and he continued to drive well, but obviously couldn't get past his teammate. But when you look at it like that, he probably did get robbed. But I mean, as a team player, he handled it quite well. I thought I showed his frustration on team radio, but he didn't say anything that was too bad towards them, and he said we'll just talk about it at the end of the race.
Didn't
out
lash
of the public
out.
eye. It was really good.
I'm not sure I'd say he was robbed. I'd say we got to remember it's also a team game as well, and Ferrari turned a potential 1st and 3rd into a 1st and 2nd.
You mean, to elaborate, by pitting?
By pitting Vettel early, getting him into a gap, doing the undercut on Leclerc and Hamilton, who mysteriously went really long. I'm sure we'll talk about that. They improved their position in the race and came up with well-deserved 1-2. We've criticised Ferrari's strategy in the past, haven't we, on this show, on this podcast? But yeah, on Sunday in Singapore, they got it bang on.
And obviously, momentum is really with Ferrari now.
Oh yeah, 3 wins in a row.
3 wins in a row. Only 2 wins for Mercedes in the last 7 races. They're a long way behind, but could you see Ferrari at least taking this fight to Mercedes? I think in the standings now, they are 133 points behind with 6 races to go.
Yeah, that's going to take a bit of a Mercedes implosion, isn't it? It's going to take another
a couple
Germany
of DNFs,
or two. Yeah,
Mm.
but if they did it 5 races earlier, maybe, but not now.
Yeah,
not for sure, not now.
I think we all want to see it, obviously, but I mean, realistically, probably not. But you never know. Say if there's Bottas or Hamilton don't finish a race, and then you just never know.
Mm. And how about the Drivers' Championship? I mean, Hamilton is 96 points ahead of both Verstappen and Leclerc, but I guess the battle for second is sort of on.
Looks good, battle for second, doesn't
Bottas
it?
is 31 points ahead.
I think Leclerc will get that. I like to think Leclerc will get that.
31 points. The difference between him and Bottas right now in P2. You think he can?
Yeah, I think so.
overcome that?
I feel like Leclerc's got another couple wins in the season. I don't think Bottas has got one.
Well,
I think we saw Bottas at the end of last year. Didn't he finish with 4 5th places in a row
Yeah,
or
he
something like
completely
that?
imploded
He
last
completely
season.
went off the boil, and he's not been Bottas 2.0 like he was at the start of the year in recent races. So you never know. Bottas could potentially be as low as 5th this year if he.
I mean,
he could easily finish second if he gets a couple of good.
Yeah, I mean, he does love
races.
the Russian Grand Prix, but let's we'll talk about that later. But let's talk about Mercedes now and their strategy call that effectively cost them the race. They just left Hamilton out there for a very long time. He said his tires were fine, but I don't think they'd calculate the fact that he would get stuck in traffic when he pitted or when he stayed out actually, and he dropped the 4th suddenly and left without a podium.
Yeah, weird. I was watching it and
Very rare mistake from Mercedes, I guess.
Yeah, they said on the radio, do the opposite of what Leclerc did. And I just assumed that he would come in the next lap and try and do an overcut, but he just never came in, and that gap closed and closed and closed. And maybe they were waiting for a safety car to happen. In Singapore, safety cars happen. Yeah, but not at the right time.
Yeah.
I think they were
just
hoping. I think they were hoping Ferrari would be stuck behind that midfield traffic as well. But and they were for a bit. But like you said, Vettel sort of did that like it was nothing. Leclerc was a bit.
Rammed Gasly out of the way.
Yeah, great move.
Yeah, and I think they might have been relying on that. Well, I'm not sure, to be honest, but it's definitely a strange one. No one expected it.
Max Verstappen obviously completing the podium in a weekend where people thought that Red Bull should have challenged for the win. Was a bit of a disappointing one for him in the end. Alex Albon finishing 6th in his first ever Singapore Grand Prix. Decent outing. Behind him, Lando Norris in 7th, and his teammate Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, getting involved in getting tangled up with Nico Hülkenberg at the start. Was deemed a racing incident. Do we see it the same way?
Yeah, I see it the same way. The stewards are being a bit more lenient now, and I think that can only be a good thing. We don't want to see Formula One where we just, you touched you, that's a 10-second penalty, you get a drive-through penalty. It's not, it's not what motor racing's about. I think it was the right decision.
And they are
stewards.
consistent with their calls, because obviously later on in the race, Danny Kvyat quite optimistically, I'd say, sent one on the inside of Raikkonen. It collided, Raikkonen DNF'd. Was also deemed a racing incident. Grosjean and George Russell came together. It was also a racing incident. I guess they're just being really consistent with them just not handing out these 5-second penalties that everyone hated so much in previous years.
Yeah, they're being a bit more lenient, and I think it's a good thing. One thing I would say about that Kvyat move is the sort of lunge you'd see on F1 2019 when you're on the PlayStation Online. But no, I like it. Bobby, you like it?
Yeah, I think was it Austria with Leclerc and Verstappen?
And they let that one go.
Yeah, I think since that it's been a lot more lenient, because obviously you look at Canada with Vettel and Hamilton, and Vettel was penalised when a 5-second penalty after the race. And I think ever since the Austria one, they've sort of become a lot more lenient, and I think that's obviously good for us to watch, because like Adam said, you don't want just penalties being dished out for little bits of contact. You
don't want the stewards deciding the races, essentially.
No, yeah. So, yeah, I like it.
I guess let's move on now to our winners and losers. All right, boys, you both picked out a winner and a loser for me. So, Bobby, I'm going to come to you first. Who was, apart from the people you just discussed in the top 6, who was your big winner of this weekend in Singapore?
I think just outside the top 6, Lando Norris finished 7th. I think it was his first F1 race in Singapore, and obviously the drivers go on about how difficult it is there. The fact that I didn't see him too much on the TV screen is why I'm picking him as a winner. He didn't really get involved too much, and there was quite a lot of battles going on the track, and he didn't get involved too much. He just drove really well, and then got some valuable points for McLaren in the race for best of the rest.
It's very impressive for his first race there, full stop, not even in Formula 1, just full stop. And Adam, you also picked out a winner. Who'd you go for?
Yeah, I've gone for a man we have much criticised on this podcast before, Pierre Gasly. He finished P8 yesterday. It's his second points finish since returning to Toro Rosso, 2 in 3 races, which is, I know it's a small sample size, but 2 out of 3 in a Toro Rosso is, it's
6
good
points,
going.
3
6
races.
points, yeah. He can't be disappointed with that, and I don't know, I guess he's got a point to prove, hasn't he?
I mean, fair play to him for not getting into the downward spiral and just picking up basically where he left off at Toro Rosso last season.
We saw Kvyat when he was dropped by Red Bull go into a bit of a bad place mentally and leading to ultimately being dropped completely, and he's back now. But I hope Gasly doesn't do that, and it looks like he's got the attitude to pick it back up and really get back on that hard work and look to put right what went wrong earlier in the season.
It's a very combative performance for him, and I'll stay with you, Adam. Now we're moving to the negative side of things, I guess. Who's your loser of the weekend?
My loser of the weekend, unfortunately, is Renault. Only 2 points for them, courtesy of Nico Hülkenberg.
Impressive from him, to be fair to him.
Oh yeah, with the gearbox issue he had.
And dropping to 19th after the first lap.
Yeah, very impressive from him, but for Renault as a team as a whole, they're on such a roll after picking up 22 points in Italy, which is a pretty massive haul for a midfield team and really closing that gap on McLaren. But they'll be disappointed to only come away with 2 points. Daniel Ricciardo looked like he could do something, but then clashed with Giovinazzi and
punctured his tire.
Got a puncture. Bit of a silly move from Ricciardo, I think. And that ruined his race and ruined his chance of points.
A bit unlucky?
Yeah, a bit unlucky. That's the way F1 goes sometimes, and
obviously
it wasn't the best race for them.
Obviously, the whole way that Ricciardo got dropped to 20th in the first place was very harsh, I'd say.
Yeah, with the MG UK, wasn't it?
Yeah, because he drove over a curb or something that caused the MGU to accidentally give him a tiny little more bit of power, and that wasn't even his fastest lap. It was
harsh,
incredibly harsh.
Did you hear Ricciardo's team radio at the start of the race?
Yeah, it was let's have it, right?
Yeah.
I really liked it.
He was up for it.
I was really enjoying his driving at the start.
To be fair to Ricciardo, to get to 7th in the first place on a track like Singapore where the margins are very slim,
overtaking is very difficult.
It's risky, and obviously you saw the risk there when he eventually did get that puncture. But Bobby, let's stay in this negative spirit. Who is your loser of the weekend?
Kevin Magnussen. I think maybe a bit harsh because he drove really well for the majority of the race.
Fastest lap again.
He did, and
2 years in a row.
And he's not going to get that point, is he? Because he finished outside the points. And he drove really well, and he got a plastic bag stuck on his front wing, which forced him right down the grid. And I think he finish last on track. And
17th.
Do you remember a couple of years ago,
it happened
Lewis
to
Hamilton?
I think it happened to Sirotkin last season.
Happened to Hamilton in Korea as well. Didn't he get some AstroTurf stuck in one of his side pods or something?
I remember that happened to Sirotkin, where a thing flew into his side pod and it just overheated his radiator and he had to retire.
What was it Russell drove over in qualifying this year? Monaco,
no, in Azerbaijan. Drain pipe.
Yeah.
Drain.
Well, and again, wouldn't you say that's harsh to call him a loser just because he had a thing stuck in his front wing?
I mean, it is quite harsh in a way, but then I think that's just summed up past the season, really. I think they are the big losers of the season so far. So, I mean, he was doing really well, and
they are 9th in the standings now.
Yeah, and that's poor for a team like Haas, who last year were
5th.
Yeah, challenging Renault.
For Renault. All right. Well, I might say that's a bit harsh from both of you on Renault and on Magnussen, but you said it, not me.
Someone's got to be picked. There's always losers.
All right, let's move on now to the Russian Grand Prix preview. Well, it's another back-to-back this weekend, and from Singapore we travel to Russia, to Sochi. It's another, I don't know if I should call it a street circuit. It's sort of a street circuit. It's another circuit with very, a lot of closed walls, no margin for error. And do any of you boys want to do the honors and take us for a lap around the track pretty much?
I mean, it's such an unmemorable Grand Prix. I don't know if I can do a full lap, but there's this track's got a lot of sort of 90-degree medium speed corners. I think Nick described it as cookie cutter track, and I guess the main attraction is the very, very long turn 4 left-hander. I guess kind of reminiscent of Turkey turn 8.
Yeah, that's unbelievably on corner.
That leads into a right-hander, which we've seen as an overtaking place in the past. There's been a few ballsy moves through there.
Fiat.
Well, not him, but yeah, it's a bit of a strange track, a Herman Tilke track, one of many on the calendar. And it's never really produced the sort of racing we want to see in Formula 1.
Well, that's the spirit. That's certainly getting us hyped up for
Can't
the...
wait.
Yeah, let's hope it's good, but let's not get our hopes up
We
too
don't
high.
have bad F1 races now, so it's just all going to be good.
Well, I mean, let's just stay positive here. Ferrari are on an absolute tear right now, but Russia is very much a Mercedes track, especially Valtteri Bottas, as we said. Can Ferrari make it 4 in a row? Yes or no?
Right now, no, but we thought the same about Singapore. So I mean, yeah, Mercedes, like you say, have been dominant. I think they've won the last 5 years, and maybe more. I'm not actually sure, but so yeah, you'd expect a Mercedes win, but you never know because the momentum is with Ferrari, and that is a thing. Momentum is a thing in Formula 1. So
yeah, but certain tracks suit certain cars. I know we said this last week, but Bottas is very good in Russia, and he could pull himself back into the fray a bit with a good race this weekend. I still expect Mercedes to be better than Ferrari at this race, but you can't tell. There's no way of predicting a track like Russia where it's not really got much to it, has it? I don't want to be too hateful on the Sochi Autodrome or whatever it's called.
Don't think it's your favourite track in the world.
It's not my favourite track at all, but yeah, let's see what Ferrari can do. If they can bring a nice package, then who knows? Leclerc and now Vettel are both in very, very good mindset right now. So
I'd say probably that Leclerc has a chip on his shoulder now.
He's got a point to prove, isn't he?
But Vettel at the same time who wants to prove it's not a one-off in Singapore.
Yeah, he wants to prove that he didn't just win because of the pit stop strategy.
And at the same time, you have Mercedes who just want to get this championship over with. You have Max Verstappen, who last season drove an unbelievable race in
Russia. Been a while since he won, Max.
Yeah, well.
A few races.
It's been not too long. It's been 4 races, five races.
yeah, it feels longer because of the summer break, I think.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, if that RB15 is good enough to challenge, he will challenge.
Oh, for sure.
Let's do some predictions now. Who do we have? I'm sensing you guys both want to play it safe and go for Mercedes.
Predicting the top 3, are we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Ooh,
Top 20.
I'm going to go for Valtteri Bottas to get a win.
Okay.
It's been a long time coming. Last one was in Azerbaijan.
Yeah,
round 4. Long time ago, that.
Yeah.
So I think one of his favourite tracks, he'll get a win.
I'm going to go Hamilton win. I just think
Very original.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think Bottas has been driving well at all, really, since.
I think Hamilton's due a win.
Oh yeah, because I mean, how Hamilton won in Hungary, and that's
3 races ago.
3 races ago now, and that's
three races between that and now.
You rarely see 4 races go and Hamilton not win. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, but I'm expecting him to.
So you're not expecting Ferrari to put. I mean, we've seen in Singapore, their downforce has just dramatically improved. Are we not? We're not fancying Ferrari at all here.
I reckon they'll be.
Have we not learned anything from Singapore?
Maybe we haven't. Maybe they'll go 1-2 again. But I think Leclerc and Vettel will be. It'll be between them for a place on the podium. I think Hamilton will also get on the rostrum.
I think Vettel and Leclerc will be on the podium with Hamilton.
So no Bottas, no Max.
Nah. I think
No
Vettel will come
Albon.
second. If you're asking me right now, I'm thinking Vettel and Leclerc behind Hamilton.
Vettel and Leclerc behind Hamilton.
Probably Bottas 4th, but
Can I lock you in for that?
you lock me in.
Final answer.
I think I have a feeling that Ferrari are just on a tear right now. If I had to guess, I'd say Leclerc won, and then Mercedes on the rest of the podium, and Vettel will do classic Vettel things.
Spin.
What about Fiat home race?
Fiat home race, you can never count him out, can you?
Exactly.
A nice little P9.
All right, I think that's enough for the Russian Grand Prix. As you can tell, we're incredibly excited for
Oh,
it.
it's gonna be a good one, that.
But let's move on to another incredibly exciting thing, the hot take section.
Ooh.
All right, we've arrived to the final section of the podcast, and probably the best section of the podcast, saving the best for last. It's the hot take section, where me and Adam go head to head debating, well, hot button Formula 1 topics, and we have 30 seconds to do so, to make our cases, and the judge, in this case it will be Bobby, will say who's the winner of this round. And Bobby, I'm going to hand the proverbial presenting keys to you now. Take it away.
Okay, so at the moment, Nick's 3-2 up, so Adam really needs to win this one. The topic this week is Nico Hulkenberg should stay in Formula 1.
Okay. I'll go first.
Nick, go.
Okay, Nico Hulkenberg should definitely stay in Formula 1, whether it's at Williams, whether it's as a reserves driver. He just needs to be on the grid or around the grid, because we all know how Formula 1 is. It's out of sight, out of mind. Drivers like Esteban Gutierrez, Marcus Ericsson, they've gone away from Formula 1. Everyone just forgets about them, because that's the nature of the sport. And when you're not there, people forget about you. Continuity is key. Even if you're just driving for P19s at Williams, you have to stay in the sport.
Stop it.
Very good.
Ooh, no.
So,
Didn't trip over your words at all there.
Adam, are you ready?
My heart is racing.
You ready?
I haven't done one of these in a long time. So
Adam, 45.
I don't think
hang
you
on,
can beat
give me
me.
a bit more. Give me a bit
Give
more.
you a bit more. He's got a prep for this.
He's 32, right?
He's buying time, Bobby. Are you seeing this?
It's all
He's
going in the
32,
book.
yeah.
He's 32. Okay, right.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All good things have to come to an end, right? Nico Hulkenberg has been in F1 since 2010 with a year out in 2011. He has been a perennial midfield runner. There is no shock that he's got the most F1 races without a podium. He's never going to be a race winner or a championship contender. He needs to take the chance now to go and do something else. He's a Le Mans winner. Go do WEC. Go do something else. He's not got a competitive drive. He needs to go somewhere else and revive his career.
Oh, you got a couple seconds left here.
Few seconds left.
He's German.
Stop it.
DTM, that's German.
They call it WEC, the WEC.
WEC. I do want to say, I wanted to save time and not say World Endurance Championship.
Okay, so
Okay.
Adam used a very big word there, beginning with P. I can't quite.
Perennial
Wow.
midfield runner, which means he's always been a
Yeah.
midfield runner, will never be anything else.
That's so harsh. So you just give up.
Well, he's not got a seat. He's not got a competitive seat.
All right.
Why
let's
not
just
go
stop
do something
arguing,
else?
Bobby.
Okay,
I think we all know the
so
winners.
I'm taking my opinion out of this because otherwise I'll be a bit biased. The person who presented their argument better there was Adam. So I think Adam is this week's winner. I think.
Thank you, Bobby.
But I agree with Nick on the whole subject, but I think Adam argued better and he used a few good words and he also called WEC WEC.
I think that alone should have given me the win.
And that thing when he said he
bought
was
so
German,
much time.
the thing when he said he was German at the end, I was going to go towards Nick. He said he was German.
I mean, I thought I started at 10, not 15, so I thought I'd run out of time. I had 5 seconds
So by
to
just
go.
stating he was German, that gave him the victory.
And anyway, it's 3-3 now, so
All to play for. You didn't say how handsome he was.
Yeah, I left that out because, it's not relevant.
Wow.
nah, but
Alright.
good arguments from both.
I
Yeah,
guess I'll
fair
just
play.
have to rally the troops, come back
Come
stronger
back
next time.
How many races we got left? 6.
6.
So that's an even number, isn't it?
All to play for.
We'll have to do.
Hopefully
we'll have-
it's a decider for the
if
Abu
it's
Dhabi.
if it's level at the end, we'll have to do one final tie break.
That's the end of this podcast, guys. I'm frankly, I'm shocked that I didn't win that final thing. I'm rattled.
Like Nico Hulkenberg was when Ocon took his seat.
Yeah, but we'll be back next week, guys, after the Russian Grand Prix. Let's hope it's a good one. We've had a couple good F1 races in a row now. Let's hope that streak continues in Russia. But until that time, it's goodbye for me. Thank you to Adam and Bobby for joining me, and we'll be back next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Valtteri, it's James.